Okay, here we go. Frannie, I feel like we're going to be talking a fair amount about challenges you won, but maybe shouldn't have. But before we get to that, when you walked into that last tribal council, what did you think was going to happen?
When I walked into tribal council, the last conversation that I had was that conversation that you saw with me, Carolyn, Lauren, and Jamie, where we were all standing around. We were like, why is everybody so anxious? Why are we so confused? Like, why can't it just be Danny? And then Heidi was going around. She was kind of making the energy more anxious. And so we all stood around. We said, hold on, let's just make it Heidi right here, right now. That conversation probably 10 minutes before we left for tribal council. So I was like, yeah, last plan is the best plan. Like, we're voting Heidi. So I thought that we were all going to come together to vote Heidi out, but obviously not what happened.
So let's get into it, because obviously it was a big thing for you this season. Let's start with that immunity competition where you're separated into the two groups. You won immunity by being the last one standing in your group. Did it ever cross your mind in the moment to step off against Brandon, thereby obviously giving Matt, who was eventually voted out, immunity? Well, like, did that enter your mind? What was the thought process? I get it. I get like wanting to go for the win. So it's not like it's totally foreign concept, but take us through what you were thinking.
I mean, Dalton, we were up there 45 minutes. I was thinking about everything. Of course it crossed my mind. I mean, I looked at that group, and all the people that were most sympathetic to like me and Matt and that wanted to work with us the most were in my group. So I was like, I love my group. And then I looked over at Matt's and I was like, this might not be so good. But I think what, got lost a little is Matt was doing really, really well socially, which of course is what ended up hurting him. You have all these people saying we can't keep him around because everybody loves him. But I was not actually that concerned for him. Like at that point, Jam is kind of on the outs. He's just had his name thrown out. He's feeling like he's on the bottom. Matt has been doing a really good job of integrating himself socially. So I looked at the layout and I was like, I think that Matt could be okay. And also, I mean, I love Matt to death, but boy, when he lost his 2 votes at the very beginning, I was like, okay, so I'm like pulling this man through this game. There comes a point where I'm like, you need to hold yourself up. And like, I thought he could make it through the vote. Yeah. So it crossed my mind to drop out, but also let me be clear. Like I felt very solid in that challenge, and I'm so like awkward. If I dropped out, I literally would have been like, oh, like it would not have been subtle. And then of course I'd have a group of people looking at me saying, oh, I bet you dropped out because you tried to save Matt, bigger target on my back. I probably just shouldn't have won the challenge in general, because then everybody was like, she's so strong. But that's a whole other can of worms that I opened.
I mean, look, Matt said all the right things afterwards, but we all obviously saw how devastated you were. Do you still beat yourself up about it a little bit, or have you let it go?
Oh my God. I mean, I cried for hours, and it's the sort of thing where it's like at tribal, I became aware. I was like, oh crap, like this is going downhill. Like this is going to happen. But it wasn't until he turned around and walked out and he said like, Frannie, I'm so proud of you for winning the challenge, that I just broke down. I literally put my head in my hands and I came up and I cried for like 4 hours. So yeah, that was very difficult for me. And at the time, right, I don't even get to talk to him. I don't get to hear him say like, Frannie, it's okay. Like, I don't blame you. So I blamed myself for days. Getting to reunite with Matt and having him assure me that like, it's okay. Like he's proud of himself. He's proud of me. Assuaged my worries a lot. And it's something that now looking back, I just feel proud of myself. Like I'm so proud of myself for that challenge win. Like, and I could have dropped out, right? And said for months, I knew I could win that challenge, but I dropped out to save Matt. But everybody would have said, oh no, you fell and you said that you dropped out. The only way to prove that I knew I could do it was to do it. And I'm proud of that.
Yeah, tell me about the reunion with Matt at Ponderosa and just sort of how that went, and because we don't get to see it. We don't have the Ponderosa videos anymore. So tell me about it.
I know. I was like, can somebody set up like a camcorder when I come in or something? It was joyous. Kane and Brandon and Matt like weren't really sure what my energy was going to be when I came into Ponderosa, right? Sometimes people are devastated, but I like ran up the boardwalk and I was like, I'm getting everybody home. I was like, we're we're here to have a good time. And of course, I literally like ran slow motion movie and jumped into Matt's arms, and we had the best hug. And then we talked until like 4 a.m. and it was so amazing. Like I mean, literally two dorky magnets. Like we cannot separate from each other. It's such a beautiful thing.
I was wondering, Frannie, about like how much of that boat ride to Ponderosa you were thinking about the game being over and how much you were thinking about being reunited with Matt. It was this weird emotional back and forth.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, right after I got voted out, I was like, well, that's a bummer. Like, oh, this journey's like come to a close. But then immediately after that, I was filled with this like devilish joy. I was like, hang on, I've got like a good week at Ponderosa with Matt. This is an excellent honeymoon for us. Yeah. And so the boat ride home was like 5% sad, 25% thinking about Indian food, and the other 70% was like Matt.
Here's something I always wonder, because I've been out there and I see what it's like. Is it hard making a romantic connection in the game when you have no soap or toothpaste and you're dirty and smelly out on an island? How does that work?
What's good about it is now we're still dating. He's seen me really dirty, right? Like I don't have to be like, oh no, I'm embarrassed, I don't have my makeup on around him. Like, we've been to that low point and everything is just uphill from there. But, I don't know, Dalton, you make it work. Love finds a way.
It must have been nice though to then get together and actually be able to shower and brush your teeth and stuff and be around each other then.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the romance accelerated rapidly once we were both a little cleaner.
I know you're still together, but are you guys in the same city now? Are you doing long distance? How's that working?
Oh, we're doing long distance. But I mean, you see it, like Matt is such a great guy. He's so kind. He's so patient. And like, he's the best person to do long distance with. I feel like we just communicate so well and like, we're making it work. And, also I'm considering making a little cross country, move in the near future, but don't tell anyone.
Okay, it's just between us. No,
it's just between us.
All right, so let's talk about your third individual challenge win on the tacos reward contest. Ever any consideration to throw that one? Because obviously it's going to increase your threat level. You're going to have to also potentially piss people off by not inviting them along. Jam. So any thoughts about not going for the win there?
I'll tell you, literally, I mean, before Survivor, when I'm thinking about like, okay, let me just go back a step further. You think about when you go into play Survivor, like what things might make me a threat? What threat management do I have to do? I never once thought that I would have to deal with challenges being my like threat management point of concern, like never once. But in my mind, I was like, okay, there's this weird trend where sometimes women win like the first individual immunity and then suddenly they have this huge target on their backs. They can't get it off. I told myself, don't win the first immunity. And then I did that. And then I also told myself, it's a bad position to be in if you win the family reward challenge, right? It's so much better to be taken. And me, like, I mean, I love my family. It was so meaningful to get my letters, but like, I knew that everyone was fine at home. Right? Like I didn't feel like I needed that as much as other people did. So like I would have been fine to, get picked or not get picked. But in these challenges, like something just turned on in me where I just loved it. Like I just loved competing. I could not help myself. Especially that challenge was so much fun. Like I was cackling the entire time. So maybe if I had a little more like rice in my belly, I would have been able to think through that wasn't a good one to win, but I was just so excited. I couldn't help it.
Well, yeah, so let's talk about that. I mean, how much did you sort of surprise yourself with these feats of athletic prowess? And what is it like then watching it back on TV, 9 months later and have people say, we better get her out. She's a beast. She's a challenge, like dominator.
It's so crazy. And I said it on the show, but I mean, I literally before the game cried because I thought that I was the weakest woman there. And I was like, oh no, this is going to be so bad for me. I completely surprised myself. I mean, I feel like throughout this whole experience, I reshuffled my understanding of like what I bring to the table and what my strengths are and how other people perceive me. And honestly, like, does it kind of hurt to see people say like, we need to get Frannie out? Yes, but it's always, we need to get Frannie out because she's going to win everything and we don't want to sit next to her. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a big compliment. I can't be mad about that.
Yeah, it's not like she's annoying. I can't spend another day with her. It's none of that
Right,
stuff.
right. Exactly.
So Why did nobody buy a single word Jamie was saying when it came to her, I'm going to use air quotes on this, her idol leaving the game with Kane?
That whole sequence is it's silly upon silly upon silly. And the fact that the whole idol was fake, it's just like makes it all better. So, okay, the thing about Jamie is I had actual good reason to believe that she was a very good liar, because when she showed up at Soka, she completely lied about the state of Ratu. She told us that the first vote was a unanimous vote against Maddie. She did not tell us about the shot in the dark plays. She did not tell us about the, idol find, the birdcage situation. And she had a poker face for all of it. And then come merge, all of that information comes to light. And she's like, oh yeah, sorry, I didn't tell you. So I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, Jamie, she's thinking more than I thought she was, and she can really lie very well. I never suspected her. So when she comes to me with this like crackpot tale of Kane walking out with the sock idol, I was like, I'm not that silly. Like, I see right through you. Of course, now watching back, I was like, God, did any of it matter? But literally nobody believed her story for a second. Like, we all stood around and laughed about it, and that made us look so silly.
Frannie, there's so much obviously that doesn't make it into the episode because they just don't have enough time. So what's something that happened out there that never made it to TV that you wish we could have seen?
So early days on Soka, right? Claire and I really wanted to aqua dump. Like, this is a rite of passage. We were very excited about the concept of pooping in the ocean, but we were both too scared to go on our own. So we asked, like, can we go poop together in the ocean? Like, we promise we will not talk about the game. We will not talk strategy. And we got the okay, like, if you guys like 10 feet apart, no talking strategy, you can go poop in the ocean. So literally we ran naked into the ocean and we're pooping. I'm like battling my poop with my shoe, and then a drone comes and is like watching us from the air. I was like, not here, not now. It was so funny. I mean, we like wept from laughter, but it was a good like aqua dump initiation. It was a baptism of sorts.
So bummed that wasn't the EW deleted scene that week.
I know. I was like, I don't think I have to be concerned about this one making it.
Who was part of your end game after Matt went out?
That's a great question. So, I mean, I was very destabilized, obviously, after Matt went home. And I think that this is where the shortened game makes a big difference, because literally Matt goes home. I cry for hours. I wake up, eyes are puffy. I'm like, bleh. And then the next day we have the next challenge and we vote out the next person. So I think in a longer game, I would have had more time to like build relationships back, but it's so fast that I was kind of like, I don't know who's in my end game, but I really wanted to work with Kane. Kane and I had a lot of strategic conversations together. And I thought that he was somebody who I could make a new group with, right? I was not interested in this Ratu Soka thing. I was like, this is boring. I want to make new alliances with these new strategic people that I'm interested in. And that's why nobody told me about the Kane vote, because they thought we were too close. So I was working with Kane. I also love Carolyn, and she seemed like somebody who people were discounting. And I was like, I don't want to discount you. I think you know what's going on and I respect you. And like, let's work together. So something with Carolyn, I don't know. It got away from me.
I know you got to run, but last one, would you do it all over again if they ask you to play again?
I would relive every single moment. I would do it all again. I would do it tomorrow. I would leave this Zoom call and do it right now if I was at this.
All right, go get on the plane.
Yeah, I've got my bags packed. We're going.